Hi everyone, we did our training today on the Bates template, and it was the normal time, 28 minutes long, and it just seemed to me that we could do a much shorter version of this. So rather than put the entire 28-minute recording on, we're going to do a much shorter version, just kind of walking you through the basics of it. Okay, so this is the Bates template. It's some basic information. We've created a home page, sample home page with lots of blanks to fill in, and we have created a couple of modules. So we've got an instruction module with information on what is actually in this. We've got ModZero, which most of you have seen before, and then we have a sample module, and that's all put in here. Okay, and here is the most important thing. So some of you have already talked about this. If you open up your page and you go, what is this? You're in your class and you look at this and you hate it. All right, that's great. I mean, it's not great, but that's great. That's fine, okay? You look at it, you say, I hate it. I've spent years developing the perfect homepage. Get your garbage out of my face. I promise you our feelings won't be hurt. So if you take a look at this and you say it's helpful, great. If you look at this and want to get rid of it and get rid of all the pages and clutter, that's also fine. All you have to do is scroll down to settings, click on that, and then over on this right-hand side, click on Reset Course Content. You're going to get the flaming red warning button, which you should always pay attention to. It says, you're sure you want to? Because it's going to delete everything out of your course. And you say, yes, I hate Tim's garbage. Get it out of my course. And now you'll notice when you click on Homepage, assuming you click on it, when you click on Homepage, it's now blank. Everything's been erased out of it, okay? So again, you're not going to hurt our feelings. People asked for this. They said, hey, can you give us an example of what a good class would look like, what a homepage looks like? We provided it. If you say, I don't need it, great. Get it out of your class and go on with your life, okay? So that's that. Let's talk for a second about why we did it, all right? So there's a lot of research saying here's what makes an effective course. Okay, some of that is taken by people's theories, some of it is taken by surveying students, what they liked in courses, what made it more effective. Some of it is looking at courses that are clearly effective. Students do well, both in that class and in the future. They go back and look and say, okay, what was it about that online course that made it effective? And we found there's some basic things. Okay, number one and the biggie is ease of navigation. Okay, in the same way, when you meet a person, you kind of form an opinion about them, 15, 30 seconds, a minute after you've met them, and that tends to stick. That's also true with your online classes. So what we're looking for is that somebody can figure out your course, figure out how to navigate it, figure out how to get the key information in just a couple of minutes. So after spending maybe 2 or 3 minutes in your course, they say, okay, I click here in order to see the syllabus, I click here to contact the instructor, I click here to get started. So that's all communicated to them very easily. They can get in and they can spend all their brain power doing the classwork, not trying to figure out how to navigate the course. Okay, so that's the biggie. Okay, next up are clear expectations. This seems pretty common sense. You want to communicate to your students right off the bat what it is that they're in for the next 10 weeks. Okay, here's the time that classes meet. Here's when you're expected to be at Zoom sessions. Here's the behavior I expect from you in Zoom sessions. Some of you want to say that. Here's how you're going to be assessed. Here's the standards you need to meet in order to get a passing grade or an A in the class. So it's all the basic stuff that you say, here's what you need to know. I don't want any ugly surprises where halfway through the course you suddenly go, whoa, I had no idea that was what I needed to do in order to pass the class. So those expectations are laid out right at the beginning. Number 3 is community. It's you and the students, and that you is in all caps because you are absolutely part of it. You and the students interacting, okay? You're forming a community. How you do that, I don't know, because it's different for everybody. Maybe it's, virtual office hours. Maybe it's meeting with students one-on-one online. Maybe it's going into the discussion boards and posting and encouraging and correcting. Maybe it's having students work. Maybe it's good feedback on the course or on their homework that they do. There's so many different ways to do it, but in some way, shape, or form, that student feels like this class that they're taking is a living, breathing, organic thing, and it's not just, I go on for an hour, I read some stuff, I do my homework, 5 days later a grade pops out, I'm done, okay? So that's number 3. The last one, and I wish I could phrase it in a positive way, but really I can't, because you need to have quality. if students go on to your page and they start spending some time in their class and they see a ton of spelling errors, or they see broken and expired links, they see a page that looks like a dog threw up on it, it's got 14 different fonts and 6 different font sizes and 4 different colors, okay? You have them try and use technology and it doesn't work. Whether it's fair or not, that reflects on you as an instructor, and the opinion of the student is, my instructor doesn't know what they're doing because they don't even know how to spell this basic word, or they put links in that don't work at all. So that's something to be aware of. We're not saying every word needs to be spelled perfectly, although that'd be great. We're not saying you need to use Oxford commas or follow every rule of capitalization, but it should look like you put some time and effort into the course. That's what we want the students to see. Okay, so that's the 4 elements. I don't think anyone would argue strongly with any of those, and that's what the e-learning committee really worked on doing, trying to get all these into that template. Okay, so let's go take a look at it. And since I deleted the last one, we need to get into this one. Here we go. All right, so this is the home page. We really worked, the e-learning committee worked hard trying to say, okay, what's kind of the bare minimum? There's people out there who are using HTML, their homepage is 47 pages long and it's got dancing elephants and unicorns and stuff like that. That's great if they have that, but that's not something where we wanted to set the bar for you guys. So we wanted to say, all right, what's kind of the bare basics minimum that we need in order to have an effective homepage? So we've got a logo there. Okay, you've got the basic information about welcome to this course, a very quick introduction, just a sentence or two as far as what the course is and what the expectations are, some information about you, what's your name, your email, your phone number, and that last sentence is really important. What's the best way for them to contact you, and what's the expected response time? For example, some of you don't respond over the weekend. That's great. That's absolutely your right as an instructor, but make sure your students know that. Don't have your students email you at 4 o'clock on a Friday and not be aware that you're not going to read their email and respond to them until Monday at 9 o'clock. Okay, that makes for a very long and anxious weekend for that student, hitting refresh on their email, wondering why they haven't heard back from you. Okay, so again, we just want to communicate whatever that policy is. Okay, we've got a link to your instructor page, so hopefully you filled that out. Again, it's that whole sense of community. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What are your qualifications? A nice personal, professional picture, things like that, so that you're a living, breathing human being rather than the dude answering or teaching the course. Okay, so next up is course description. A lot of this you might just copy and paste from your syllabus. There's nothing wrong with redundancy. In fact, the student seeing the same thing in a couple of different places can reinforce it. So here's my course, here's how we're going to handle it, here's where Zoom is. A lot of people just put a basic table, especially if there's multiple courses, saying, okay, Monday is Widget Making 101, Tuesday is Widget Making 102. Just put that information there, and then the last thing you see are, of course, those course outcomes. That's, again, getting back to, if you pass my course, here's what I expect you to do, and here's the skills that you're going to have at the end of course. Okay, and the last thing is just getting started. A lot of this comes from Marianne Keith's AMA program. It's great, but if you look at it and say, I don't like it, feel free to edit it and delete some of it. But it's some really good things, how to get to the course syllabus, the modules, that Canvas Help and Student Resources link, that gives students a lot of information. And a lot of you actually talked to us about how your students just don't read the announcement. So you might even want to move this one up to number 1, saying, hey, I put really important announcements in there. You need to read them. So check the announcements several times a week. Okay? So again, it's pretty basic. It's not required to use it, but this answers the what's the basic information I need. So if you're ready to get started, you just click on Edit and go in and start entering your information. Again, moving stuff around, changing it, but filling this template out. All right? The second thing we put in are just some modules. So the top module is simply the instructions. Obviously, don't publish that. That's not designed for students. Those are just some instructions for you to help you with it. Okay? The next module is ModZero. Most of you have seen this and most of you have used it, and thank you for that. Our recommendation is that you publish this a week before your classes start. Okay? This is a ton of information. It's great for your students to have this and digest this so they can find out, if they have an email problem, how do they solve that? What are the expectations for Zoom? What are some resources that are available to them, from free Microsoft Office to community resources like help with rent, free childcare, to Bates resources like registration and the CARES Act. So this is a lot of information for them to wade through. If you do it on the first day of class, you're going to fly through it in 15 minutes. So give it to them a week before class. The nice thing about that also is we've designed this so that it has them use almost all the functions of Canvas just in this one module. So by the time they're done with this, they're going to have sent an email, they're going to have taken a quiz, posted to a discussion board, downloaded a document, watched a video. So A, it gets them in Canvas and gets them familiar with it, and B, almost as important for you, if there's any issues, you're going to find out about them almost immediately. In fact, you might even find out before the first day of class that there's some basic computer literacy they're missing, or they don't have access to Wi-Fi in any reliable manner. So it's great to know that, the Friday before class starts rather than 3 weeks into the class when you're wondering why a student is doing so poorly. Okay, so that's a ModZero. And then the last thing is some instructors asked us, said, hey, what should a module look like? So we just put in, it's actually blank, it has some instructions for you, but here's what a sample module might look like for the week. It is not our expectation that you're going to have every single one of these in every single module, every single week, in every single class. This is just some stuff that you might put in. For example, put your introduction and objectives. What are we learning this week? What are the expectations? Maybe put some videos, an assignment, a quiz, something to assess them at the end of the week. But this is just there to kind of help you and say, here's what your typical module could look like. Okay, so again, this is here. It's there to help you guys. It is not cast in stone, so if there's parts of it that you love and parts that you hate, feel free to delete, feel free to move around, feel free to adapt. That's great, and that's what it's there for. Other than that, as always, please give us a call if you have any questions at all.